Well, get those life vests zipped and clipped, strap down those rods, and stow away those tackle bags because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bass 2 Anglers podcast. I'm your host, Keith Nicewonger, and I hope this episode finds you with 5 for 25 stored in your Bubba Pro Series Smart Fish Scale, integrated seamlessly with Major League Fishing Score Tracker. It's a lot to say. If you aren't shopping online with CopperStateTackle.com yet, you should be. Tons of bass catching awesomeness. It's only a couple clicks away. Go to CopperStateTackle.com, fill your cart with all that good stuff, and proceed to checkout. By the way, if you're shopping, here's a tip for you. I've been using the Daiwa J Floral 8-pound fluorocarbon line lately. Drop shot, underspin, Ned rigs, skinny Senkos, Icas. This stuff is just amazing. You know, I think for a lot of us old timers, we used to think that we'd have to downsize to 6-pound test or even 4-pound test to get bit. I don't think that's the case anymore. These new fluorocarbon lines are just amazing, and I think you can get away, especially with this Daiwa J Floral 8-pound fluorocarbon. It's great stuff. And anyway, if you're looking for a line to try out, I would take a look at that. Anyway, go to the checkout there, CopperStateTackle.com. When you check out, remember to use our promo code BTAP1 to save 10% on your purchases. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven rods, reels, and baits. The choice of champions. Check out DucketFishing.com to see what everybody's talking about. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven. Here's a little breaking news, and if it seems a little unresearched, it's because it is unresearched. I mean, I did a lot of research, but like a lot of things that BASS does, it does not appear that the information is going to be made public. It seems like it's something that BASS is just going to kind of slide on through without making it public. Now, all the commotion I'm about to create comes from a few different sources. First of all, YouTuber Steve Get Your Fish On Chapman had a post about this, and it got me looking into find out where this information came from. I stumbled across an Instagram post by at Wheeler King, and then there were a series of X posts released by Trait Zaldane's X account. BASS, do you want to weigh in on this? Do you want to help us out by making an official release? Or should we just jump to conclusions like we usually have to do? I'm just asking. First of all, in what looks like the most official document that I was able to find, a message released by Alan Johnson's Instagram account. That account is called at Wheeler King. You can see it here. I'm not going to go through and read this because you don't need to be read to, but essentially what it is saying is that pros will no longer be able to live stream their tournaments. You might recall that we've had several anglers on the BASS Elite Series that have live streamed their events, and BASS is saying no longer, because it interferes with the things that BASS's, boy, that's 3 S's in a row. BASS apostrophe after the last S. Anyway, it interferes with what their media partners are trying to do as well. So anyway, now where did this come from, you might ask? The message was released on Thursday to BASS Elite Series anglers via their weekly email update. Alan Johnson, he's pretty well connected with the bass fishing world, and someone who couldn't post it themselves for fear of being punished by Mother Bass leaked it to him. That's the way a lot of these things come out. Anglers don't dare complain or, give away things that they're not supposed to give away. So somebody inevitably leaks it to somebody else, and that's how we find out about these things. Come on, Bass. Just put it in a press release and let us work with it. Steve Chapman, he gets a lot of good inside stuff as well, but again, he's not revealing his source either. Here are the X posts that Trait released. There's some venom in these posts right here. Still no attempt being made from BASS to get out in front of the story. Typical. No press release from Bass yet. Just a business as usual, make a decision, likely a knee-jerk reaction to a favorable commentary that's in the bass fishing community about BASS Elite Series pros live streaming their events. If you follow this channel, you know that I have said numerous times that the live streams produced by Chris and Trait Zaldain, Matt Robertson, and Logan Parks are the best thing going when it comes to watching live coverage of professional bass fishing events. Chris and Trait Zaldain's stream on their Zaldangerous YouTube channel is the best production, and it is the most professional of all. It just represented something that is new in our sport, an ingenuity that should belong to the inventors. It's an intellectual property, the kind of thing that American businesses thrive on. And typically, these things are protected by copyright and patents in this country. But alas, Zaldain's live streaming is being done under the BASS Elite Series umbrella. The reality is, it's a BASS event. And since the event belongs to BASS and agreements made with their media partners take precedence over an angler's right to live stream an event, well, this is where we are. The thing I've liked so much about these individual angler live streams is that it allows us to watch a real tournament day on the water. We get to see micro decisions, boat positioning, and the psychological warfare between man and bass, or woman and bass. It's not a catch every cast show that we typically see on live broadcasts, where we're jumping from one guy catching a fish to another guy catching a fish and so on. It's authentic. It's real. You know, you see the ups, you see the downs. You, particularly with Zaldain, he's very good at talking. So you really get a feel for what he's thinking about as he's doing it. It's just the best word I can come up with. It's very authentic, and I'm going to miss it. There's no doubt about it. Hey, Bass, how about if you and your media partners make the Elite Series Pros Day on the Water a live stream available to all of us? Imagine that. Imagine that. What if BASS had every pro live stream their day? It'd be a great way to track individual pros' marketability. Think about that. Fans would go and watch their favorites. It'd be a great way to track how each of these anglers is received by the fan base. That seems like the kind of information an organization would want to gather. Camus Boats, from the mind of Earl Bentz. Excellence, tradition, and service, all part of the Camus advantage. On the water perfection. This is your next boat. Build your next boat at camusboats.com. I just got back from the Juan Bass U.S. Open out at Lake Mojave on the Nevada-Arizona border. I have fished this event many times as a boater, but this year I jumped in as a co-angler. As you may or may not know, Juan Bass out here in the West fishes a shared weight format where the pro and co each day take their boat's weight with them as they move on to the next couple of days. It's a pretty neat format, and it really encourages teamwork. So again, essentially each day both anglers work together as a team because they're going to benefit from each other's success. Why did I fish as a co this year after being a boater all my life? Several reasons. First of all, I wanted a chance to pre-fish with some of our Western Camus pros. I don't get to do this very often, and this was an opportunity for me to fish with a few of the guys out here that run Camus boats, and I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. I got to fish with Shane Edgar, who's out of the Phoenix area. We had a great day on the water, and it was the first time that I fished out of a CX20. I've been in the 21s. I have a 21 myself, but fishing out of that 20 was pretty interesting. It's an excellent boat. Lots of room to fish. Super smooth, even through the afternoon bumpy water that we have. It seems like the wind is going to blow on these desert lakes every day at some point. And the CX20 ran through that chop pretty well, I got to say. I was impressed. The next day I got to fish with Rodney Reed. He's a pro out of Washington State. It was a little breezy that day with Rodney, and we ran a long way. We ran way up the river, about 15 miles below Hoover Dam. So if you know anything about Mojave, we launch at Catherine's, which is at the very southern end of the lake. Hoover Dam is at the very northernmost part of the lake. It's about 75 miles from Catherine's to Hoover Dam. And anyway, Rodney and I ran about 15 miles short of Hoover Dam, ran a long way, and it was breezy. And it was a good ride. It was a good ride. Rodney's boat is a CX21, and the ride was smooth as butter. Even in the afternoon chop, I even dozed. In the rough water coming back, I was holding on, and I dozed while we were coming back through that big basin. Smooth running boat, super smooth running boat. I also fished co-angler because I want to see how guys are fishing tournaments these days. This modern era of tournament fishing. I'm an older guy, and I don't know. I think maybe tournament fishing just kind of passed me by a little bit, and I wanted to jump in and see how guys approach fishing these days. So that's why I didn't fish as a boater this year. As I mentioned, being an older guy, I come from a school that says the more casts you make, the better your chances of catching them. I mean, that's how we grew up. It's a school that a lot of older guys come from. The idea that you can make 1,000 casts in a day. So you're casting and casting and casting, trying to put your bait in productive places every cast. That's just the way we were raised. It's just the way I was raised. Now, I approached this tournament from the mindset that my boater would most likely be scoping. It's pretty well known that if you're going to win at Mojave, the U.S. Open at Mojave, it's going to be a scoping event. And so I approached the tournament knowing that my fishing was going to be, I was going to be dragged around a lot because scopers are going to search for fish, and when they find the fish, they're going to cast at the fish. So I wanted to approach the tournament from the idea that I knew I was going to be dragging something behind the boat because we would be moving until a fish was found. So I was looking for techniques that would complement what the angler in the front of the boat was doing. Since the boat was going to be moving around a lot, I knew I needed something that I could drag or something that I could do to take advantage of the boat's movement. So I set up a Carolina rig. I set up an underspin with a 3-inch Duckett subtle tail swim bait, a drop shot with the fuzzy dice, and a Ned rigged plastic crawdad. All of these baits I felt were baits I could fish behind a moving boat. For me, the drop shot didn't work very well because, first of all, when we did slow down and the guy in the front of the boat made a cast, if he didn't get bit within a couple of seconds, he was up and moving again. And so the drop shot dragging through the deep grass was not very effective for me. The Ned rig also, dragging that through deep grass, also wasn't very effective for me. But the Carolina rig and the underspin were both really effective complements. I caught fish on both, and I felt that they both really complemented what the pro was doing at the front of the boat. So I would say to people that are co-anglers, if you're in a situation where you're in a boat and someone's scoping, you think about a bait you can fish that will take advantage of the boat's movement. And don't feel bad because you don't have access to the forward facing sonar. You actually have more water to fish if you're thinking in those terms. On day one, I drew out Kurt Dove. He's out of Texas. He's a longtime BASS Elite Series pro, many years in the business. He's fished the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit as well. And boy, on day one, the wind was just howling. And we jumped around the lower basin trying to target smallmouth on offshore structure. Again, Kurt was going for the win. I mean, nobody wants to fish for second place, so this is what we did. But the wind was just brutal. It was very hard to hold on any kind of position. And, we managed 3 little smallmouth for about 4.5 pounds. Now, I did catch about a 2-pounder on the underspin. We were moving as Kurt was looking for fish. And I noticed a big boulder. The water's very clear at Mojave. I noticed a big boulder, fired the underspin over there, started crawling it back, and stuck the fish. So that was my contribution to the first day. After that first day, I was in 135th place. I think there's 166 anglers in the tournament. And I would tell you that with the wind blowing the way it did, that first day was almost not fun. It was really, really tough. Day 2, as it turns out, was canceled. The wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour, which just shut us down. And so it was decided that the tournament would be, instead of a 3-day tournament, would only be a 2-day tournament. On the second last day of the event, I drew Evan Barnes. He's out of Arkansas. I know this name. Barnes is a former Major League Pro Circuit angler who's recently been fishing the BASS Opens. Barnes told me that we'd be chasing offshore fish and that he felt we could get a pretty good bag. So again, I kind of went into that day with the same mindset. I was going to fish baits that would complement what he was doing while he was looking for fish. Now, it's interesting. On that last day, what an extreme. We had no wind, glass on the water, and it just was such a contrast to the first day we fished. Now, I'll tell you that we caught 18.5 pounds that last day. 18.5 pounds. That is a mega sack at Lake Mojave. I mean, they come bigger, but not much. But when I tell you we caught 18.5 pounds, it was not an easy day. It was a seriously slow grinder of a day. Barnes caught our first fish about an hour after we got to our first spot. As I said, he was out there just looking for him. And finally, he caught our first keeper. It weighed a tick over 4 pounds. One of the right ones. But it took well past an hour to get that fish. And that's all we ended up getting on that first stop. We ran about 5 minutes to our next stop, and Barnes put the trolling motor down, and he was looking for fish. And while he was looking for fish, I had the underspin out there, and I stuck a 5.5 pound smallmouth on just slow rolling that 3-inch ducket subtle tail worm pinned to a 3/16 ounce Deeks Jigs underspin. It's the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught, and it won me $1,500 in the daily big fish money. It actually turned out to be the second biggest fish in the entire tournament. Pretty exciting. But again, that's all we got on that spot. So, we're now probably started fishing at about 7:15, and we got that second fish. Probably it was about 9:30, 9:45. So we're now into the day about 3 hours, and fortunately we have 2 keepers, and fortunately they're 2 big fish. We ran across the lake to another spot, and again fished it for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Barnes finally caught our third keeper, another good one, just under 4 pounds. So it's crazy. You think we have 3 fish now for almost 13 pounds, 3 fish for 13 pounds. But it's taken us about 5 hours to catch, and we're not catching lots of fish. We're just getting the right bites. I don't know what perfect bass fishing weather is. On day one, we were cursing how much wind we had. And on day two, we were begging for some breeze because it was so dead calm. And, you just figured it had to affect the fish. Having no wind, nothing to break up the surface. So, gosh, I guess bass anglers are just never satisfied. About 12:30, we returned to the spot where I caught my big smallmouth, and the wind was starting to blow. I caught a small non-keeper on the Carolina rig, just pulling it behind the boat. And then Barnes caught our fourth keeper, another smallmouth, this one just over 4 pounds. And at that point, we had about 17 pounds, right at that 17-pound mark. This was about 12:45 now in the afternoon. We returned to our first spot of the day. Barnes caught a 13-inch keeper to give us 18 pounds and to fill out our limit. It was weird to catch a keeper bass that was only 13 inches long. These, all these other fish we'd caught were so big. And here's our fifth keeper. It's just a 13-inch fish. About 2:30, the wind was really starting to blow, and I caught a 1 3/4 smallmouth on the underspin, just casting up behind the boat and just cranking it really slow, and that allowed us to cull out that small 13-incher and brought us up to 18.5 pounds. 18.5 pounds, it's pretty epic, when you consider that we caught only 6 keepers on that day, when you consider that, we would go an hour and a half or so between fish, it's not what I picture an 18-pound limit to be. I picture an 18-pound limit to be, lots of fish catches, lots of culling, but it wasn't the case. We got 6 bites. We did not lose a fish all day. And it was pretty tough fishing, I got to say. Pretty tough fishing. My day allowed me to move up to 63rd place. I know 63rd is down there, but when you're in 135th to begin, moving up to 63rd, not too shabby. But again, I was only about 3 pounds away from making a check in this event. If we could have had a limit on day one, I think I probably would have cashed a check in this event. Couple more keepers, that's probably what we needed. Congratulations to Spencer Sheffield. He won the event on the pro side with a tick over 40 pounds. Spencer's also from Arkansas, good friend of Evan's, and has been coming to this event for the last 3 years. He's been very close every year, and it was good to see him get the W this time. Lessons learned. I got what I needed from this event. I got to witness how today's successful pros fish to win. Both partners had the same strategy, looking for big smallmouth in deeper offshore water. As I mentioned earlier, growing up in an era where the more cast you make, the better your chances of catching, this experience was a real eye-opener for me. Both of the boaters I fished with made very few casts. I would say that probably Kurt and Evan, I think they probably made fewer than 75 casts, maybe fewer than 50 casts each day. I clearly made more casts than they did. I probably made 5 to 10 times more casts than they did. It's a real testament to what forward-facing sonar allows you to do. These guys were not wasting their time making unproductive casts. They didn't catch a fish every cast, but every cast they made was to a fish. And I don't know, you weigh that against my spray and pray technique, making all those casts. It's just a real eye-opener for me, a real contrast to the way I had grown up fishing. And I think this, with the forward-facing sonar, I think it's a lot more efficient and, dare I say, a better way to fish. I can understand why Randy Blockett and others dislike forward-facing sonar. It contradicts the way we were brought up fishing. I know, because Randy and I are about the same age. I know how we grew up. Cover as much ground as possible, leave no stones unturned. Forward-facing sonar allows you to cast at the fish. And I don't know, I think that for me, I prefer forward-facing sonar. I really like that. My U.S. Open experience has proven to me what I think I suspected all along. When it comes to winning bass tournaments, the key is working smarter, not harder. Reason number 8 that your next boat should be a Caymas. Caymas Cash. Do you fish tournaments? Now you have up to 10,000 reasons to run a Caymas. Today, many boat brands offer contingency programs, but none of them deliver bigger payouts than Caymas Cash. With over 1,000 sanctioned events each season, you could win $10,000 for a win in a platinum event or $2,500 for being the highest finisher in a Caymas boat. There are silver and bronze events that will get you paid as well. Check out our Caymas Cash contingency program by going to CaymasBoats.com and find out why it pays to run a Caymas. The Ultimate Angler Championship is in the books, and congratulations to Tucker Smith of Birmingham, Alabama. Smith, a BASS Elite Series pro, who has a couple of BASS high school wins, a couple of BASS collegiate wins, and a blue trophy from this year's Lake Fork event. Weighed in 70 pounds, 6 ounces to take home the $500,000 first prize in the biggest single event that this sport has seen in quite a while. Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour pro Jacob Wall picked up $130,000 for finishing second with 64 pounds, 10 ounces. Remember, this was a no forward-facing sonar event. The pros had to fish the old-fashioned way, 2D electronics, punching mats, flipping docks, and other conventional tactics. The state of Alabama was a major contributor to this event, with much of the prize money coming from public purses. The question is, will this be a one-time event, or is this something we can look forward to in the future? And at this point, we are hearing that next year seems to be a go, at least at this point. How's your jig head minnow game? Introducing Ducket Fishing's Sway Minnow System. Not just a bait, an entire fishing system. Perfectly balanced jig heads in several fish catching sizes, matched up with the most realistic looking winged minnow baits that you've ever seen. With multiple size baits and jig head weights, you'll be able to figure out the perfect presentation. Check out the Ducket Fishing Sway Minnow System by going to ducketfishing.com. I'm not buying the idea that forward-facing sonar is driving co-anglers away from bass tournaments. Like so many other unproven, non-scientific theories out there that we latch onto in the bass fishing world, the popular idea is that co-anglers are not signing up for bass tournaments because they don't want to fish behind a minnow pinger. While that might be true in some cases, what has been lost in all of this is the whole reason, the whole concept of why co-anglers exist. Learning. You don't fish as a co-angler to win the Co-Angler of the Year award. I mean, it may be a thing, but it's not a thing. You don't fish as a co-angler to lay claim that you dominated the co-angler field. You fish as a co-angler to learn. You fish as a co-angler to gain experience, to see how it's done, to get a taste of tournament fishing without the investment of a pro entry fee, the pre-practice, and having to deal with being a boater. If you fish as a co-angler, develop your own strategy. If that pro has you on offshore structure fishing targets that you can't see, trust that the pro is fishing that spot because he or she has had success there in practice. Trust that there's fish out there swimming around waiting for your cast. You may not be able to catch the fish in that pro's sonar cone, but you've got a shot at fish in all other directions. We don't talk about that enough. If the front of the boat is scoping, they have a small cone that they're looking at. That gives the guy in the back of the boat, 95% of the water to fish with? co-angling should be for learning. And I can't explain why more anglers are not wanting to be co-anglers. I don't think it has a lot to do with forward-facing sonar. And for those that are bothered by forward-facing sonar, don't forget the purpose of being a co-angler. You're there to learn. I'm Keith Neiswanger. This is the Bass 2 Anglers podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to reach us, please send us a direct message on Instagram at Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Take care. Be safe. We'll talk to you next time.